for you to,
That would be helpful. Test my memory.
Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting in order, September 30th, 2021, 6:30 PM. If everyone could join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Ms. Jones.
Brad Crandall.
Here.
Dawn Fortin.
Here.
Sarah Jones. Here. Craig Corpola.
Aye.
Dana Jenny. Here. Jeff Wolfersberger.
Here.
Tim Wood.
Here.
Thank you, ma'am. Addenda, does anyone have anything to add or remove from tonight's meeting?
I would like to add, for discussion, the quarantine COVID being such a hot topic at this time, just
Excuse me.
some time for the ability to have some conversation.
I'll second that.
Whenever you're ready.
Dawn.
Yes.
Sarah. Yes. Craig.
Hey.
Dana.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
you put that at the end, so?
Yes, sir. We will put that in as 5.02. We'll just mark it as quarantine. 2.01, comments from the public. We do not have any public tonight. Moving right on, right into 5.01, first steps with MASB and superintendent search. Mr. Myers, I'd like to introduce our,
From MASB, we have Dr. Rod Green, and he's done this for quite a while. And he's been a superintendent over on the east side.
Right.
I can't remember
East China.
East China. I should have known that.
Anybody heard of East China?
Oh, yeah. Harper Creek.
St. Clair and Marine City, two high schools. St. Clair, that's the town. Marine City is one of the towns. So. Anyway, you ready for me?
welcome, thank you, thank you.
Nice to see you guys. Nice to see you guys. Craig, I feel like we've met before. I was here last year, a couple years ago. But anyway, most of you are pretty new. I know I met Don before. So, but nice to meet you all. So I've got Craig and Dana and Sarah and Jeff, Don, Tim, Brad. So, yeah, my name's Rod Green. I'm a former superintendent. I've been a consultant with MASD for quite a few years now. And I guess I've done maybe 40-something searches. So I've done a few of these, and I've got one going right now up in Fulton. So this has been a big year for search. I think you guys probably are aware. We had a lot of people busting out, just like, hey, once 2020 hit, once March of 2020 hit, it was just like, okay, yeah, I'm done. And there was a lot of that. And so I think we've got around 100 new superintendents this year in the state, and certainly there was like 70 brand new ones, like brand new, and then there's a few, of course, that switched districts. But anyway, there still is a pool out there. There's still people that want these jobs, although I would say that it's not as deep as it was years ago, But to get started with this, did you guys, you guys didn't really have a presentation on how it was gonna go, or did you? Did someone come and,
Yes.
someone came and did a little thing? So you know a little bit about how it's gonna go. So what I think I wanna do with you tonight is talk a little bit about getting the posting out, getting some dates set. So I hope, and I'm really glad that all of you could make it. I really appreciate that. So just start with this timeline draft. Let's just look at that. and start kind of going through the dates. So, so first thing I need to do is I need to come to the district and try to do some stakeholder input. And so I was looking at my schedule and trying to, I guess, let me get a pen here. Trying to figure out like what would work best. And so I don't know exactly how teachers and staff sometimes want to do these meetings, but I did one of these a few weeks ago. And you know, I get, I don't know, 4 or 5 teachers, and then I get a couple over here, and I get a couple over here. It's like people are busy. So when I was doing it on Zoom a year or so ago, we did a lot of this on Zoom, I was getting huge turnouts. And so I was kind of thinking, like, why don't we try a little combo of some Zoom and maybe some face-to-face. And so I was looking at this, and so next week, on October 6th, I have some opening in that afternoon. So I was wondering, Don, what you thought about, like maybe doing a couple of sessions, like elementary teachers, if they got out a little later than high school. Maybe we do high school at 2:30, do elementary at 3:30, something like that. I mean, what's the schedule in terms of teachers and what they do?
That is middle school conferences.
Oh, that is?
Yeah.
October 6th,
Yep.
so that's gonna be out. All right, so
Thank you, Sarah.
for noticing that.
Have to look.
This conference day, yeah.
Okay, so I also have October 13th. How does that look?
This conference is too, hold on. Is it the 12th?
Or is it conferences just for the middle school?
It's fine.
So maybe the 6th would be a good
For,
day for
oh, is it just
K-5.
middle school?
Hold on. For some reason, I can never put the school calendar to pull up in here. Hold on, I'll pull it up on the phone. For some reason, it will never pull up my school calendar on my computer over into these meetings.
Did you say the 13th?
Yeah. Or
The
What
6th.
do you got on
in
the 6th for, like, is it just middle school for conferences? Like, would high school be available that day? I mean, we're not gonna catch everybody. I mean, there's gonna be coaches and people that,
The 13th is open, the 12th and the 14th are the other 2 conference days.
okay.
Conferences are 3rd through 12th grade on the 6th.
Okay, so that, the 6th is gonna be out. So
Yeah.
maybe the 13th could work?
The elementary would be open on the 6th,
Would they?
I think so.
K2,
they have
so
to-
you'd have K2 and
The young kids.
9-12 available on the 3rd.
No,
She said 3 through 12.
Oh, I'm sorry.
and 3 through 12 and the 6th is gone.
See, in
But I
our
could do
district, we
K1
have
too.
2 elementaries that are K through 2.
Perfect,
Then we have an elementary 3 through 5,
okay.
and then, you
And
know,
then the other.
middle and then high.
Sorry, I meant little.
Yeah, so the
The
K2,
little ones, the little kids, but they're not little teachers, right? They're just regular, they're regular.
early elementary buildings.
They're regular teachers. So we could do K2 on the 6th then, maybe, hey?
Mhm.
Don, what are you thinking? Colleen, you think that would work? What time do they get out? What time do they get out?
3:30.
They wouldn't be able to do that until around 4.
It's okay, around 4? Okay, that would still work. So let me just make a note here, so we could do, and I'm gonna send you this, Colleen and Don, 'cause you're gonna help me coordinate this, but I'm gonna do, I would do a Zoom link, a Zoom meeting with the K2 teachers if they wanna join in, you know, and so it only takes like, I don't know, half an hour, 35 minutes or whatever, but we just talk about what they're looking for in a superintendent, just get their input. So it's a nice thing to do. Now, the 6th, that would be on the 6th. Then on the 13th, that would be open for possibly the rest of the crew, right? 3rd through 12 then. So we could do a couple of different, like what times do they get out? 3rd through, 3rd,
Staggered.
3
So
through
again-
5 is 4 o'clock.
3rd through 5 would be 4, but what about the higher ones? I mean, the
2:35.
So, yeah.
I think it
3
is.
o'clock. Yeah.
3 o'clock maybe?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So maybe middle and high school could do 3 o'clock? That'd be
Yeah.
convenient for them. And then maybe 4 o'clock for middle school.
Well,
I mean, for 3
Lower
through
up.
5.
Actually,
As a teacher,
yeah,
conferences
right.
two days in a-
Sorry.
Are you doing this as well? I'm just asking.
I mean, if you said it's only 35 minutes.
Yeah, they usually like it, I mean, they like to know what's going on, and so we would do 6 through 12 at 3 o'clock, and then
3-5.
3 to 5 at 4 o'clock, and this would be on the 13th. Now, the other thing I was thinking about, so you guys have your meetings on Mondays, right? The 18th is another one of your meetings. So I was thinking, could we parlay into that, like have a community meeting? If people would come, a lot of times, you know, they don't want to come, but I would come, we'd invite them, we'd get the word out, and then try to see if people would come, like at 6 o'clock or something.
I strongly suggest that you have one. I think it would definitely need to be separate. We do generally get strong attendance to these meetings. And I know when we did the last superintendent search, they had a community stakeholders meeting, and there was a large group of people at that. I mean, I was in attendance of that meeting, and there was a good turnout. So I think, and it was more like an open roundtable discussion.
Mhm.
So I definitely think it needs to be separate, because people like to kind of roundtable talk, and
Yeah.
so.
Well, it would be a public forum. I mean, it would definitely not be a board meeting.
Right,
But I was thinking that maybe it would be nice to have it on a board meeting night, because I could then
Yeah.
report to you
Yeah.
at your meeting then later on in that same night, was what I was thinking. But I don't know, if you feel like, you know, that doesn't quite work, I don't know. You usually have your meetings at 6:30?
Correct.
I mean, could we do a community forum at 6 o'clock and then do the regular meeting at 6:45 or 7 or something like that, or is that cause problems?
How many do we want to have?
Pardon?
How many would we like to have? Because I think Dana might have to have it right, and that maybe we need to have two of them.
2 community forums?
Yeah, so there could be one before the meeting, and then there could be another one on another day
Yeah,
that would get offered, because not everybody's gonna be able to make it on that.
right.
That early. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, maybe I could do one on Zoom and one in face-to-face too. I mean, people, I do get better turnouts on Zoom, you know, just because I guess, I don't know, people are comfortable with it, or they just feel like it's more convenient or whatever. But, I mean, maybe we could do that.
Okay.
So I was thinking, the 18th, I just kind of blocked it out for Pennfield. So, I mean, I would do whatever you want to do, but my thought is what we need to do at the board level is we need to do a profile. So what I would be sharing with you is so I didn't mention the survey. So we have a survey that would be out. So we would post the survey, people fill this out. Then we do these focus group type meetings, and then I would give you a report. So I would basically give you that report on the 18th. And then I would also help you with a profile that night. That would be the idea of it. So we want to get that profile done for the process of the search. And I'm just from talking to Don, and obviously this is up to the board, but I was thinking we want to get on this. You know, you're wanting to get this going, and is that fair? You're not looking to wait? No. So, yeah, so I'm kind of like, all right, so we got to get this going. I'm trying to, you know, work in the times that we could do this kind of work. So does that sound?
How much time do you slot in for that particular meeting?
For that candidate profile meeting?
Yeah.
I probably could use about 45 minutes with you. I know, all right, so that's a regular board meeting. So I admit, sometimes I steer away from regular board meetings because of just a lot of reasons. But it's also like, as we were talking about dates for this meeting here, you know, we were just talking like, well, sometimes it's nice to go on top of, you're already gonna be here, it's just another agenda item, you know, it's a different agenda item.
Is 5:30 too early to start that?
No,
So you do like, are you talking about the community forum?
Yeah,
Yeah.
only because maybe some people would get out of work and be able to come right here instead of having like an empty time.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
like, oh, now I'm home, I don't feel like going type of thing, maybe if, you know, for the ones.
Also, yeah, I kind of agree with Dawn. Also, our meetings tend to run a bit long recently, and if we're adding another 45-minute agenda item on top of
I know.
our meetings, I mean, our last two have ran at least 2 hours, so to add a 45-minute item, and then I just,
Well, and it can be a little bit shorter, but I
I'm not trying, I don't want to
No,
shortchange it, I don't want to
no,
shortchange it.
and I'm just saying that sometimes it goes pretty smooth because it's pretty evident of what you're thinking and how it's working, and really it's kind of confirming some things, but I do like to give some time, just to make sure I've got the full discussion from the board and I've got everybody involved and all of that.
I think we could fit, I think we could fit it in. I mean, Don and I would,
I
No.
think we have to fit it in.
we would work together, and make the meeting as, you know, as,
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
we should, the 5:30 start time for the
Yeah, I like
meeting
the
forum.
5:30, so then we could still start at our
6:30.
regular time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And-
all right, that's
Start
that's perfect. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me too, because I don't like you to change your regular time just from the community standpoint, right?
Yep.
And you guys, I mean, if you wanted to, you would be welcome to come to the community forum, but it really would not be a board meeting, it would be a community forum, so it'd be more like Dana was saying, like, hey, it's round table, it's kind of getting the discussion going and all that kind of stuff. So I just need to come up with another time for a Zoom time for that group, so I will do that.
And it would be before the 18th.
It would be
so you
before the
can-
18th, yeah.
So just for that group's, information, so let's say someone doesn't get out of work till 5:30, is that something they can feel totally comfortable
Yeah.
coming in late and
Absolutely.
just, yeah, would love to have them when they could
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah, we could put that even in the notice, like, hey, it starts at 5:30, but you're welcome to come at any time and join in, you know, that type of thing.
Awesome.
So
Um,
what they did last time, and
yeah.
just this because of memory, I remember it, is like, we actually like met in the band room, and we set up some tables, and we just faced each other, and then, actually, it was the same night as the board meeting, and then afterwards, we came into the board meeting after it was over, so they did kind of do it at the same time, it was like a 5:30 to 6:30, so
All
I kind of like where your, well, I
Yeah.
like where your head's at, so.
Thank you, all right. Yeah, no, I mean, I wanna do what you guys wanna do, and I know you feel it more than I do. I feel the work, I know what I need to do, but you feel what's happening here in your community and what you wanna have with your constituents, you know? So I think it's important to have that go back and forth a little bit. Now,
Just a thought, if we do this, I think the board needs to split up, like if we have seven tables, that way nobody can accuse us of, you know, violating Open Meetings Act.
No, absolutely.
yeah, well, and you know, Don, what we would do is if I had more than 4 members there, I could just have you call to order but basically, I would be the agenda item and that'd be the only business. But generally, you can do this stuff, if the board's not conducting business, I'm really running it, it's not any business of the board. But we're opening up to the public and we're asking people to talk, so I mean, I think it's fine. But if we wanted to, if we did have more, if the board members want to come at 5:30, we can definitely call to order and then you can turn over to me, and then we can split up and do whatever, you know, you want. We can set it up however you want.
I think there's plenty of accommodations that we could do. You know, we'll sit down, with distancing and stuff like that. Right off the bat, I think of the auditorium. Would maybe suit us a little bit better, more spread out seating.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to carry a microphone around, that's fine, but I would look at our resources, see if anybody's available to maybe even, video it as well, so
Well,
people
the
that.
reason they did it, the way that they did it before, and it, like I said, is more of an open forum, is so everyone was literally facing each other, so they literally had it in like a circle in the band room, so people could be like, kind of like facing each other, and it was a little bit more warmer than the auditorium, because the auditorium, like, everyone, like, and then you're like this, and like seeing who's talking, so that's why I suggested that, because the band room is quite large, it can hold up to like, 250 kids at a time, so you can, I mean, you're not gonna get 250 community members showing up.
No.
That's why I suggested the band room, that's where we did it last time.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all, and I want the open forum feel to it, so I'll ask questions, I mean, if we felt like we wanted to divide up into groups to talk about something and then report out, we could do that too. So there's a few different ways we could do that meeting, but the idea is getting their input, letting them feel valued and respected. And then I'm gonna report out at the board meeting that night, but I'll have other reports too. It won't just be that one, because I'll have had the staff meetings and I'll have had the survey. So I will share with you that night the survey data and then the focus group, kinda what people are saying. And I will get things that will come out particular to Pennfield as compared to other districts. People will say things like, you know, we want this, we don't want this, you know, they'll tell me that stuff. And sometimes that is nice to not have the board involved in that, so there's a different, so we could talk about that right now. Like, do we want board members in that 5:30 to 6:30 meeting, or would we rather just have community feel like they can say what they wanna say? It's up to you guys. I'm open to either way.
I'm comfortable staying out of it and let you bring the information to us.
Me too.
All right, we'll do that. Then we don't have to worry about open meetings or anything, and I will tell you that people are pretty honest sometimes with me, you know?
Good.
And it is good, I take that. And then when I'm talking to the candidates, I'm able to say, hey, this is kind of what's going on, this is what I heard from the community, this is what I heard from staff, you know, that type of thing. It's helpful to me. The reason I do this, I mean, besides the fact it's helpful to the process, it's helpful to me as a consultant, knowing a little bit about what people are, you know, feeling and wanting. And certainly there's some upset, you know, about everything, right? We all know that, so you're getting beyond that. We're gonna be, by the time I do this, hopefully they will be like, yeah, we like this about Kevin, or, you know, we didn't like this, or we can understand, you know, there'll be things that they will tell me. So I'll just tell you that.
So Rod?
Yeah.
One of the things that, I don't know if you and Tanya had a chance to talk about this, but I'm imagining that the MASB keeps some of the old records. So the original search for,
Yeah.
whether it was Kevin or if it was Tim, that you might have some of those, that old profile that we had from a few years ago. And I think that that may be something that we want to share with the rest of the board. Not that the input you're going to be getting isn't great and everything.
Yeah.
It's just that I think there's a lot of things that haven't changed about the district, that profile
All right,
still.
I will
beneficial.
look for that. You know, who did the search? Was it Scott? Scott
Yes.
Merrill? Yeah. So, yeah, I bet you we have that, and I'll grab that. And you did it in 2019?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's a great idea, and I'll check that, and I bet you I even have the applications from the people who applied. That's where I thought you were going, but, yeah, so I do look at old applications occasionally just to see, you know, who was out there, and some of the searches I've done, I'll go back and look at, oh yeah, shoot, that's right, that person applied, you know, and so you kinda, it refreshes you a little bit, so I'll look for that too. Okay, so the plan then is the 18th then at 6:30. So I don't know if you can put me at the beginning of your agenda, but basically, yeah, I mean, you call to order, do whatever, then maybe it's a special report from superintendent search consultant, but I would be sharing some stuff with you, and then I would be asking you to affirm some things, and we would be basically working on, you know, maybe half hour, maybe 40 minutes on some stuff, and then that stuff then goes into the search, and so I post the profile and things like that. Now, there's one thing I wanna work on with you, and that is the contract. So, so Don or Colleen, do you guys have the contract that you were using for Kevin, the previous one, in a Word document? Somebody has it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's on
It's on board.
our Google Drive, yeah. Yeah, we
Okay.
have it.
So if you could, one of you could send me that contract in a Word document or Google where I can edit it, I'm gonna work on that for you and prepare us to talk about the contract. So I like to do that in the second meeting, which would be on October 18th, but that's not the only time we would work on it. What I would do with you at that time is just kind of go over the stuff that's in the contract and kind of get your feel of what you like or what you don't like as regard to the contract. So that's also in that meeting. And obviously, if it takes a little bit longer, we would just defer to the next meeting, which I will have with you. So, all right, so here's the thought. Now we're on the big picture stuff here.
So Rod, if I could.
Yeah,
So you were saying that you wanted to get our feedback about the contract. I think it's at this point that we need you to give us some feedback. Because that was one of the things that we discussed about maybe 2 or 3 months ago was what would be the going rate, for instance, for a district our size? What's gonna make us look more attractive?
yeah, I will definitely do that.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do a little bit of that tonight, Craig. But in regard to the contracts, you guys probably don't know me, but I do contracts. That's one of the things, I'm the only consultant for MASB that does contracts. So I have a little bit of expertise in this area. So what I would do for you, no extra charge or anything, but basically I'm gonna look at the contract, I'm gonna review it compared to what we normally would be thinking about. And I will tell you on the 18th, hey, this language is not really what I would do, or this language is perfect. And so I've got the language piece of it, but then also the benefits and the salary piece of it I need to discuss with you as well. So I've done probably about 50 or 60 superintendent contracts. So when MASB gets a call about contracts, they end up referring to me. And I'm not a lawyer, but I do teach school law, but I've bargained contracts for about 30 years, so I just do that work. So it's just helpful for this process. The reason I do it with you, first of all, when I get to the end, I want you prepared to be able to offer the contract and be comfortable with what you're offering, both in language and money. And then secondly, I don't want to have it screw up at the end. I want it to have it ready. I want it to be ready. And there's one district on the west side, they blew it at the end. They blew it. And, and I heard about it, and I looked into it, and it was basically because they weren't really prepared with what was happening, and the negotiations between the person that they wanted and the board president, went south. So I help with that at your pleasure. And if you want to do something different, I'm helpful with that as well. But I will help you with the contract, and we will work on that together. That's something that we do in open session, so this is an open session meeting. We don't have a real crowd here, but when we do the interviews, and we're right at the end where we're thinking about that candidate that we want, I will ask you, okay, we talked about this range, what do you want to offer? This will all be an open. We will not be doing this by email or anything like that. So I just did one of these a couple of weeks ago, and so I know what the guy's making, I know what the range is, and I'm saying to the board, what do you want to offer? So we decided, I call up the guy, say, this is what we're thinking about, you've already got the contract. So I send the contract to the final couple of candidates, so they're prepared. So there's a whole game to this that we are prepared for, so we will be prepared. Okay, so let me ask you and talk to you about the timeline. So today is September 30th. So my goal would be to have it posted tomorrow. So if we go with a 5-week posting, that could put us out to around November 3rd. So that's just short of 5 weeks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, just short of 5 weeks. Now, I do either 5 weeks or 6 weeks. So in my mind, I've got 2 kind of scenarios for you. I could go out to another week if we wanted another week. But then what happens is we have Thanksgiving in there, and we have some other problems in our schedule. So this is the first schedule that I came up with, is have the deadline be November 3rd. Takes us a couple of days to get you the information. We have to put it together at the MASB office. Then we would target, and I already emailed the secretary that helps me with this. Could you pull it off to, if I have the deadline on the 3rd, could you pull it off to have it to the board by the 5th in the afternoon? That's the Friday. So the answer was yes, we could pull it off. So I would get you the information on the 5th, then you'd have a few days to review the information. So what is this gonna look like? It's gonna be an email link, and you're going to be able to scan through everybody's application. So if we get 15 or 20 applications, I mean, it could be 300 pages. Now, I will give you a memo as well that's going to kind of highlight, hey, here's the top people you should concentrate on, but you're gonna get all of it. So I want you to have a few days to review it before we actually meet, and so I'm suggesting the 10th of November. So I wanna go through this whole thing and then we'll come back. So then if we do the 10th, we would then call the candidates and and I'm looking at a Saturday, and this is up to you guys, and this is just a draft. You know, could we do the initial interviews on a Saturday? You know, and so there's a couple of advantages to that. One is the candidates like it because they don't have to take off work, they don't have to travel during work, stuff like that. Secondly, we see them all in one day, so we have to take a break. We do 3, we take a lunch, we do 3 more, something like that. And then, so you've seen them all, you've compared them all, and now then you boil down in, you know, at the end on that Saturday. So it's not the Michigan-Ohio State day, but I don't know if anybody's a football fan, maybe it's Western, I don't know. So then if you do a Saturday, then now you could do the final round on the following Tuesday, and you're done before Thanksgiving. And then you are working on the contract, negotiating, you're approving it, you know, as soon as you can approve it, and then you could get somebody to start maybe mid-December, something like that. So that's the kind of like, okay, could we pull that off? Yes, we could. We have enough time between the posting, we have enough time between ending the posting and giving you the documents, we have enough time between the interview prep to the interviews, and then we have enough time between first round and second round. The other time frame that I had in mind, and I didn't write this one down, but I've got it here on my email. Just to give you another thought. So the second one would be make it the 10th that the applications are due. Then I get it to the board by the 18th. So my problem there is that the MASB conference is that week. So my staff at MASB is tied up during that weekend. So it has to be the next week. So it gives us a few extra days there. Then I would do the prep meeting with you on the 23rd. And then I would do the interviews like the 8th, 9th, and 15th of December. Something like that. So it pushes it back. But it's because of Thanksgiving, because of the conference, because of the schedule. So what's
The second
people's
option,
thought?
I will be honest with you, the second option works better for me,
Okay,
but I'm having surgery on November 9th, so I will not be able to attend any of this if we do it out of the first option, because I found out today that my surgery is November 9th. So I would not be able to attend any of this, and I would really want to be involved in this, so I like option 2 obviously better. Because I would rather come in here in a wheelchair with,
so how long are you out of commission?
well, I'm getting a metal plate taken out of my leg in 6 screws, so I
Taken
just,
out or put in?
taken out, I got it put in January.
Oh, nice. Thanks
So-
for sharing.
Yeah, it's good times. So I think, I mean, that's why the option 2 looks great for me, because I had written on this before you had said something. I would love to push that first meeting back to the 23rd, because I know that I will be back mentally okay by then. I'm only taking 3 days off work for the surgery.
Okay,
That's it. So I know mentally I won't be Dana in those 3 days, but if I get applications by the 10th or 18th, I know that I could read them and have plenty of time to review them.
I mean, I would prefer to have the whole board. I mean, this is a board thing. And so generally, I wanna have the whole board. So if we have a conflict, we wanna try to work it out. So I thought this through, you know, and I'm fine with a little extra time. I don't have any problem with it.
So you said the 23rd is when we would do the board workshop, and then December, what would you?
Yeah, so as I'm looking at my schedule, that first week of December, so the 23rd, all right, so I'm unfortunately, or fortunately, I have my first vacation in like 2 years
Fun.
That's unacceptable.
That's very fortunate for you.
on the 29th, so that week is shot.
Okay,
So Thanksgiving is shot, of course,
Yep.
so the next week is shot, so that is why I couldn't do the next week.
okay.
And then, so then the following week, the 6th, 7th, 8th, you know, so let's see, the 6th I'm booked, but I'm really open the 7th, 8th, 9th, you know, so that's why I thought, hey, what did I say? Oh, I think I said the 8th and 9th. Look at my email here.
Yep, 8th and
So
9th.
if we push the interview prep to the 23rd, I think the next date we would look for is the interview. And I'm gonna comment, I think,
Yes.
I really like your Saturday idea, knowing the fact that we would have a lot of staff wanting to attend as well.
Yeah, so the 11th,
And that would give them
Is
the
open.
opportunity to not have to take a night.
I mean, the 11th is open, so that Saturday could work. The 4th, unfortunately, is not, you know, that's when I'm getting back, so. But if you wanted to do a Saturday, the 11th would be open, and then we would go to, we'd still be on the same track for the 15th as the second round.
So, okay, the 11th, and then,
If you wanted to do a Saturday, how do people feel about a Saturday? You like the idea of Saturday, it's fine?
Do we get paid double time?
Yeah. double
We don't get
zero.
paid at all.
who's bringing in Christmas candy that day is
2
what I want
times
to
0
know.
is, we get a little lunch.
Are you bringing coffee?
What's that?
Are you bringing coffee?
Coffee,
Yeah,
Christmas
coffee.
candy?
I'll bring
Something like
coffee.
I'll bring Rocky Road.
I think if we're gonna do it all at once, the Saturday thing, when I first got this email today and I looked and I thought, oh my goodness, what do? I have to take a personal day or something, and then I realized it was Saturday, that works better for me, to not have to take a day off of work.
So the 11th then was when we would do the initial interviews, and then
And then the 15th would be the second round,
final.
which is the final, yeah, that'd be a Wednesday.
Okay,
So between the 11th and the 15th, we'd have to narrow it down to two.
No, the 11th, we narrow it down at the end.
yeah.
Okay.
And so we take a break. So one of the things that I do to you guys is, we have a Google Doc that we allow people that are watching the interviews, they can jump on the Google Doc and they can put in their comments. So then I capture that, I email it to you all, then you are gonna review that. So we're gonna take a break after we're done interviewing, we'll take a little break. You'll be reviewing your notes, you'll be reviewing people's notes, and then we'll reconvene and we're gonna be like, all right, so what do you think? And we'll discuss the candidates and we'll try to narrow it, probably to 3, but it could be to 2. But we would discuss that. So sometimes, I always ask for the top 3, and sometimes then I will say, okay, if I had to ask for top 2, what would it be? And I try to see what it's looking like. And if everybody has the same top 2, then sometimes we'll switch to 2. But if, I like to do 3 too. So it's up to us when we're doing that work, but we do that day.
Okay.
So then, and then from there, then, we start talking about checking references, calling the candidates, getting ready for the second round. So that gives us time to do that between Saturday and Wednesday, no problem. And then the second round, we are now, we got the candidates coming in, we've still got the crowd behind us, and we'll do the Google Doc again, we'll get the feedback, and then at the end of the second round, we're sitting there again, taking a break and starting the process, like, all right, do you like one? Because we can only pick one, we start going through it and we narrow it. And that's the plan. Now, if we can't make a decision that night, then we punt, we go to another night, we do another night. But normally, as I've done this work, people are ready by the second round, they're ready to make a decision.
Brad, do you do site visits?
We haven't done very many site visits the last few years. I think part of it's because of the whole availability of Google and online and the type of thing that people can find out. But one thing I do between the Saturday and the Wednesday would be reference checking. And so sometimes I'll like the board to get involved. So I might ask you at the end of the day on Saturday, like, all right, so who wants to make some calls? How are we gonna do the reference checking? Let's get some people involved. So then I divvy it up, give you names and numbers, and we start trying to get that work done, and then put that together in a report so you can review it, so you're prepared for the second round. So to me, there's several different points of being prepared to make the decision, but always, like we would probably decide if we're gonna do a site visit at the end of the day on that first day. If we really feel like we need a site visit, then we probably start thinking about it. But we could always decide that on the second round as well. But yeah, it's not like it used to be done when you and I were doing our thing, I mean, I've done 40 of these or more. I've done more than 40, and I've only had a couple of site visits.
So between the 15th and the end of the year, the contract approval, and then
Start
we'll
July.
be fine for
Yeah, probably January.
beginning of the
Yeah.
semester.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's stuff that ends up getting negotiated, like what's the transition, what job are you coming from, how does that work? I help you with that. I just did one in August, and the guy was able to make the transition like in 5 days,
Okay,
which was great. He was a principal,
Yep.
he talked to his superintendent. Superintendent said, you know what, you got an assistant principal, we'll put him in charge. Last day is Friday, great. So I set up the contract for first day, on Monday, and it was perfect, So it doesn't always work that way, especially if we have a superintendent is our final candidate. We're probably gonna wanna afford them some more transition time and just make that work. So I help you with that, like, all right, what can we work on and all that, so. All right, so let's go backwards here. So we do November 10th would be the deadline, and then the 18th. Let's just double check my schedule here. But I'm sure I didn't schedule anything, did I? Oh, shoot, hold it.
I thought we said the 23rd.
no, the 18th is when we receive the stuff, and then the
Oh.
23rd is when we have the,
Yes.
Thank you. 23rd. Sorry. 18th is when you receive it.
receive
So the prep
information.
workshop would be the 23rd.
23rd
Yes.
is prep.
Thank you.
December
I was
11th,
gonna be like, how did I miss that?
yeah,
It's okay.
December 11th is when you said we'd have a Saturday,
And then we do December 11th, yep.
And the
We
15th.
could do that, and then we could do the 15th.
and then we just don't, then go from there.
Yeah, and then these will be, different. I'll just put approximate on that.
So that makes the initial interviews December
December 11th.
11.
So when I go around and talk to staff and stuff, so I give this schedule to them, I tell them we want them to come to the interviews, it's gonna be on a Saturday, if they wanna come, they could do morning, they could do afternoon, they could do both. But yeah, we'll try to pump that up a little bit.
Absolutely, because I would assume the best practice would be to have a public comment in there at
Well,
the end.
we're gonna have that Google form. So what you're gonna do, you do have to have public comment, but usually what we do, and I'll help you with this, I'm your helper. You're gonna, right at the beginning of the interviews, you're gonna say, is there any public comment? There's hopefully gonna be 0, then we do the interviews, but then they have the Google form that they fill out, and then that's what I give to you for all their comments.
Okay.
Perfect.
So that's smoother, better. Sometimes if we have 25, 30 people here, I mean, we'll have 60, 70 sheets, and you'll be flipping through them, and it'll take you a few minutes, but it's cleaner than asking Colleen to make copies of handwritten, easier to read, it's all typed, it's pretty smooth. So you'll like that.
Okay.
Nice.
All right, so let me just review. The 6th of October, I'm gonna do a Zoom with K2 teachers. The 13th, I'm gonna do Zoom with, and that was at 4. The 13th is gonna be 6:12 at 3 and 3:05 at 4. Then on the 18th, I'm gonna do a community meeting. I still have to schedule a Zoom meeting, another Zoom meeting for community.
Yeah.
And I'll do that, with Don. And then we can invite to Don on the community one, we can invite other people. We can invite, other support staff or anyone that we want to. We can say, hey, we'll get the word out, so I'll help you with that.
What date will that one be?
I haven't got that one
Oh.
figured out yet. I gotta work on that one.
With the staff one, can we communicate, like, if they can't get on one, they can go to a different one?
Yes,
Like, if they can't come on the sixth, they can go to one on the.
Absolutely.
Just make that clear and
we
then,
can give them a schedule and
okay.
work on that, yep. All right, and then after that, then we've got the 18th, we're gonna do the community at 5:30, then we're gonna do the board at 6:30 with the info. So at that time, I'll be asking you to, look at the input that you got, and listen to that, and then I will also give you a profile that I'll have developed from the input. So we'll go over that, we'll fix it up if we need to, and then we will also look at the contract. So between now and the 18th, I'm gonna get the contract from these guys, and then I'm gonna look at it and see how it compares to what I normally do, and then see where we're at on that.
Thanks to Jeff, I already sent it to you.
Oh, did you already? All right,
We work
Now-
quick.
all right, let's do something else here.
When will the application deadline be then? The same?
November 10th.
Oh,
November
see.
10th. And I might adjust that, I need to call MASB and just ask them what would they prefer, because if they're not gonna work on it between the 10th and the 12th, I might use the 12th, which is the Friday, because they're in conference at that time, but if she says, yeah, if you get it to me the 10th, I'll be able to get something done, and that helps me. But if I'm not gonna get it to you by the 18th, that's what I was thinking, I'll check that with her, see how that works for her schedule. But the main thing is you're on the 23rd. You're on the 23rd where you're coming in and we're gonna talk about the candidates at that time. The other thing we will do at that time is I will have sent you some questions. So the questions kind of match the profile, so we work on the profile, we're trying to see if they have certain things, then I'm gonna try to match questions to get at that. So I'll send you that in advance, you'll be able to respond to me, and we'll also work on the contract at that time. So we'll finish that up. So that'll be our second shot at the contract, okay? All right, I got a method to all my stuff here, so just hang in with me, okay.
So if I can break in here, Raj. For some reason, I thought that there was something we talked about it the last time around as it relates to internal candidates. Is that something you were going to address, or is that something you could refresh?
So my feeling is all comers, anybody that's interested should apply. And it's confidential. And so if some internal people want to apply, I will end up talking to them, or if you give me the hint you want me to talk to some people, I will. So here's a couple of things for you. You should not be talking to candidates. If people talk to you, you should be saying, hey, give Rod Green a call. Here's his number. He's the consultant, he's running it. That's just a really easy thing for you to do, and this is definitely an issue with open meetings. If you start interviewing and talking to someone, it's just problematic. So that's one thing for you. So for your internals, but then the second thing is now when we're sitting here and we're talking about candidates on November 23rd, and we're doing it by number. So people sitting out here are not gonna know who we're talking about. And we're not gonna say they're from a neighboring district, we're not gonna say anything like that. We're gonna just say, hey, middle school principal, solid candidate, we're gonna be talking generically, but you're gonna know who they are, because you've got the info. I would just say, you don't interview people that you don't think have a shot at it. That's what I would say. So if they're internal, I'm not gonna suggest that let's interview them, and we know they don't have a shot, but let's interview them anyway. The slots are too important to do that. And I will say too, that I'm gonna just ask you, do we have strong internals, do you know, do you think? Or do we really don't know?
I'll say yes.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, let's see what shakes out. And then, as you guys do the work, how am I gonna do that work? I'm gonna ask you, give me your top people. Give me your top 6 or 7, give me your top 7, whatever. And we're gonna compare notes, and we're gonna go through and add them up and see who's got the most votes to be interviewed. So, sometimes, yes, the internal people definitely get an interview, and that's fine. And sometimes, they're not ready and they don't get an interview. It's up to the board. Does that answer that? All right, so I want you to look at this draft posting. So this is the one we're looking at now. Couple of things I want to talk about on this. So first of all, any of this is open for change, so just tell me if you think there's a word off or something, and obviously I'll take that word draft off of there. But I just put in, I see the space there in Calhoun County there.
And then it needs to change to the winter of 2022.
Yep, where is that? That is on the back? Nope, on the front.
It says Pennfield School Board of Education.
First
seeking the
sentence.
Superintendent to begin work in the winter of
In
2022.
2022, got it, thank you. So, just a little description, 20-30 students, budget of 26 million. I got your, kind of like your mission statement off your web page. I'm gonna fix that up. There, and then you had a little tagline, learn, grow, and lead. So I took that. And why is all this spacing not right? I don't know. It's gotta be something. And then I put that last sentence in there, takes great pride in the school district. You completed a strategic plan. So I was your consultant. You may not remember last spring, not last spring, yes, spring of 20. Spring of 20. I was your consultant for your strategic plan. Do you remember this?
I do.
Thank you, Donna. Nobody else remembers.
We only have 2 that were here.
Right, nobody was here, right?
I remember, I was a community member. I
Were you?
remember, yeah.
All right. So anyway, so I put that in there. So this is just a little intro to the district, right? So then, this is the thing here. I put in strong educational leader, knowledgeable in finance, effective communicator with staff and community, actively work with the board to set and reach goals, experienced administrator, creative problem solver, friendly, honest, and ethical. So it's kind of a generic thing, but I thought, I don't know, you guys got any other words you want me to use there, or you feel like that's okay? So what happens, people will see this posting tomorrow, and they will, first thing they will do is they will look at the salary, which we're gonna talk about in a minute. Second thing they will do is they will click on your website, and they will look up the website, they'll look up some things. So the reading of some of this is like, all right, so yeah, they'll read it, but they don't really care. They're gonna look at those 2 things. Have I got the board members' names right?
Yes, sir.
Any issues there? Then I asked Don, and he helped me with these, and was it Angela? Helped me with these numbers here, so this gives a little snapshot of the district.
And Gina.
And Gina? Sorry.
But there is an Angela in our central office too, so
Oh, you know
I'll give
what?
you a break.
I hope I didn't email her, so. Okay, so then, here's the main thing I need, salary. So, I showed you, you saw it on your email, salary comps, right? Trying to pull this up on mine. And so what are you guys thinking? Jeff was telling me you did something with the contract last time, you put some more stuff into salary instead of extras, So what's your gut feeling, and what were you thinking coming in here that you wanna offer? Did you have a thought? Craig?
I don't think we should start for anything less than 135,000.
Okay.
And, moving allowance for 1 year. And, education grant, because they may not be a PhD, and we want them to be a PhD. I would say too that, they may want to travel expenses, so whatever the IRS is saying as far as travel expenses are concerned.
Yeah,
And I think we should plan on their usual yearly attendance at all of the professional conferences.
I'll work on all that stuff. So when I talk about salary, and I heard Craig say 135, I said I have 135 on here. I'm talking about salary and annuity. So when you think about how this works, you don't count in like payment for education or IRS for cars or, you know, some of the typical stuff that's in. So first of all, I probably would not do a car allowance. I would not recommend to do a car allowance because it's not reportable, it's not pensionable. So what superintendents are gonna be interested in is what's pensionable. And so this is what Kevin was doing a year ago when he asked you, Jeff, right? This is what you had this conversation about, something like that. He wanted it in salary because it's pensionable. That's the reason. So car allowance, cash in lieu, bonuses are not pensionable. So we wanna, you know, limit that type of stuff and we wanna put it in salary. So, but annuities are pensionable. So when you count, like if somebody's making 130 with a $5,000 annuity, I would count that as 135. So some of these on this sheet here, they have, like for example, Olivet has 129, 337. Hastings is 139, and there's no annuity. Now both of those had an other, so I'm not sure what the other is. But then if you look at like Harper Creek, 130 plus 6,000, so really that's 136. Lakeview is 152 and he doesn't seem to have an annuity. I don't know how much I trust all this stuff sometimes that is reported. 139 plus 8,000, that's 147. And then yours was reported as 122 plus 5,000. But then you see there's 80,000 in other. So I do not know what that would be. Doesn't
When
make
they
any sense
do
to me.
superintendent's salary, do they base the school district on the number of students?
Or buildings, or,
Oh yeah, you guys are, there's no rhyme nor reason. That's the real answer. You can have a small district like East Grand Rapids, they're gonna be higher, right? So I did that contract, I think we started out at 175 for that one. I did Farmington's, theirs was at 200, plus an annuity. I just did one over on the west side, and his was like 225 plus increases each year, plus, an annuity. I mean, they're all over the place. But then, like Fulton, I'm not being recorded, am I?
Yeah, you
You're
are.
being, yes,
I am? Is this gonna be posted?
this is live right now on YouTube.
Okay, I'm not gonna say.
Fair enough.
So there's all over the place. So some districts are like 115 to 120 or 110 to 120, that type of thing. And then other districts. So you guys' size is, you're around 2,000 students. So I'm looking at all of the work that I do, and I think you should be in the 135, 140 range. I mean, that's where I think you should be. And I don't know where you were before exactly. I mean, it looks like you're at 127, but I'm not sure that that's really correct. I have to look at the contract.
It's pretty close.
Is it?
The bottom line, I'm looking at the total's a little high. And, I mean, for Pennfield that you have on
Yeah.
here.
And is that really right? What's that 80,000? See, I don't know what that is. That's an unusual number there, so I'm not sure what that is. So if I look at your contract, which you said you just emailed me,
I would, what I'm getting at though is, I think total, we need to try to stick below 200.
oh, absolutely.
so.
I mean, you're talking base plus healthcare plus, I mean, everything all
So
added
Let
together.
me just give you some scoop on that. You can't really look at total, because some of it is just absolutely required, and what you really need to look at is salary and annuity. But if you just did
Okay.
a quick, down and dirty thing, it's basically another 55 or 60% of whatever your going rate is. So if you're at 135, you're gonna be at 200 between your healthcare, your retirement, the pension, things like that. So just the retirement itself is 42%. But now some of that's reimbursable with UAAL. So can you really count it? You know, I would say no, you're getting reimbursed for it, so why would you count that? But that's how it's counted on here.
So I think if we're talking just salary, on what's reported on here of local districts, I think Craig's right in the,
In the ballpark.
I think he's right in the realm of
What
one.
do you want the range to be? Do you want to be able to attract, I'll have to look at this later, Don, but do you wanna be able to attract sitting superintendents that are already making
Yes.
125 or 130?
Yes.
So Rod would be looking at then a range of 130 to 140.
Yeah, I mean, you could be there. If you feel like that's good, I mean, the 140,
Yeah.
For an extra 5,000, that's, for an experienced superintendent, that's great, I think.
yeah, I mean, you guys are, 130 to 140 would be reasonable. You know, generally, they're not gonna get the top of the range unless they're already coming in, they're already making close to that. And then you would try to do the top of the range. I had that happen one time where, you know, we put the range out at like 105 to 115, the guy's already making 116. So I asked him, hey, you know, the range is 115, you're already going, what are you making? You know, he's like, well, it's my hometown, I wanna go there, you know, stuff like that. So when I talked to the board later, they decided on this guy, but they ended up sticking right at the 115, you know, so he didn't really get a raise when he came there, but he was willing to do that. So to me, the range is really important if we wanna stick to it. I mean, I would ask you, hey, we got a couple candidates that are already making that, you know, are you willing to go a little bit more with your range? You know, when we get down to the end, that's what I'll be asking you. I don't want you to make the decision based on salary, so I won't tell you this stuff before you decide, but I will be knowledgeable about what it is.
So you put on this, the range 135 to 150, was that your recommendation, or was that just?
Was I just spitballing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, as I looked at it, you know, I looked at like some other districts, over in the west side, like around Hastings, which is Wayland and Otsego and some of those. You guys aren't quite over there, but, you know, they're all making in the 140s, all of them are in the 140s, you know, so I just thought we should be, you know, maybe just a little bit more range. But I'm comfortable, if you felt like 130 to 140 is kind of where you feel comfortable. I want you to feel comfortable in your community, yes.
Can you just give me an idea, what kind of applicant do we get at 135 versus what do we get at 150?
So, basically, people that are already making 135 would apply maybe if they think they could make 150.
Would that be somebody who is just out of, like they haven't held a superintendent position before, versus someone who is very experienced?
Yeah,
Kind of like that between
you're,
135
at this
and 150.
level, at 135, you're basically talking about superintendents mostly. So if you start looking at assistant superintendents in districts this size, they're probably only making 115 or 105, you know. And so then they would be interested in a 130 salary. If you're looking at superintendents, they might be making 125, 130, and so they're, you know, they might be interested in going to 140. But I don't have a big problem, if you felt comfortable at 130 to 140, I would feel comfortable. So what's the thought? What do you think?
I was kind of, I kind of had a gut feeling about not dismissing the 150, just, we don't have to go there.
Just see what we get for candidates.
See what we get,
I
yeah.
agree.
I mean, there's a reason you put it out there.
Yeah, it is a number, I mean, it is noticeable when they see that, but what do you guys think? What do you think? Are you okay at 130 to 150? You wanna do 130 to 150? Give us a little more range?
They're numbers. And when you're talking about another $10,000 for somebody who comes in with a lot of experience, with experienced staff, I don't know that an extra $10,000 is gonna make a difference in how we're bargaining with our faculty.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really gonna make a lot of difference.
Well, you're in the going
It's-
rate for sure.
It's, everything to me right now, it's hard to fathom, cause touching on what Craig just said, I mean, somebody at 150 that may already have their doctorate, that may not need the extras or the others, you know, that would be most certainly in our budget per se. So
Well, it
yeah,
looks like
I guess,
Kevin was making 140 is what his contract says.
Yes.
sorry.
And did he have an annuity as well or not? I don't see it.
I'm not gonna comment on all the logistics, I don't know all the,
Okay.
He had two different amounts of money on top of the salary that he was receiving. And then we were in the process of consolidating those, in the last year or so. And so they were going to be lumped into the larger salary sum. And we had talked about a total already almost a year ago, and for the life of me, I can't remember exactly what those numbers were gonna be.
He
So
wanted,
you'll have to go back and take a
yeah,
look.
he wanted an additional 11,000
For an annuity? Or just in general? you
in
wanna get
general.
to 150?
just the cost of living raise is what he was referring to. But yes,
Okay.
so again, without getting into closed session when we weren't supposed to be in there anyhow, his base salary was lower, and then incentives for living in district
So you
and
moved some of those up.
education and all that stuff. So December of last year, he asked for all the others to be put into his base salary for his retirement.
Yeah.
His pension. So that was taken to the 140. And don't quote me, but I believe the only thing that he really had above and beyond that as far as, is a bonus on a effective or higher,
Merit, on his
yes,
evaluation.
on his evaluation. He had a bonus on that,
So,
and then he had an incentive to continue his doctorate.
okay. So I mean, generally, I would tell you guys that I would probably do three main things. One would be salary, one would be an annuity, if we wanted to, it might be small, but then the other one would be the merit on the eval. So, but that could be small as well. So I'm not gonna have, I would generally not put in a bunch of other things below, like, I mean, I'm certainly gonna do conferences and, education to a max of something. I mean, there's some of that stuff but that's really not compensation. it costs, but it's not, to me, the main thing is what's the salary and annuity. That's the main
Yeah.
thing that they are interested in. That's what we wanna put the money into. And just knowing this, maybe 135 to 150 would be the range we wanna be at. You're certainly not any more than what you were at that range. You see what I'm saying?
My only thought with the 130 is that you'd be sending a message to those who have not been superintendents.
That they could possibly
Yes.
aspire. I'm fine with that too.
I'm
That's a good point.
to move forward, I'm fine with the 130 to 150.
Yeah, I think that if we go 130 to 150, we as a board decide at the very end, hey, like, this is what we're willing to offer. And we can say, this woman or this man really blew my, socks off, and this is where we really wanna put them at the high end of the scale, or, you know what, they're a very strong 130 candidate. Like, we make that decision at the end, so we don't have to,
We don't have to worry about it through the process. What we wanna do through the process is pick who you want.
Yes.
Who you really think will lead. The salary comes later, but we have to be prepared for it, that's all. We just
Yes.
have to be prepared. We can't base a decision, this one's gonna be cheap. We would never do that, right? We would never do that.
100%.
Or this one's gonna be too much, we would never do that. We're looking for, and let me help you with that.
The right
And I had one over here where a consultant called me, Don, and he's like, hey, I got one candidate who's she's coming from Illinois, and then I got one from Michigan, this one's making a lot more, what do I do, you know, and so I helped him work his way through, but do not bias the board on that thinking, we don't wanna do that.
Right.
We're
wanna
up front,
hire-
we're up front right now saying that we would be
Yep, there you go.
in negotiating of a contract between 130 and 150.
All right, I will do that. All right, so then the last thing is just this, this is mainly for Don and Colleen, but this is just a website kind of a thing, info. And I'm gonna send you guys an email tomorrow morning with setting up a little, thing on your website, you know, superintendent search process, click on that, and then some of this stuff will come up so people can stay informed. So I'll send you guys that, and then we'll get that going. And that's it, that's all I needed, yes.
All right, so once this announcements go out, applicants are gonna vet us. Like, they're gonna go to our website, they're
Yes.
going to look for us. Does the MASB, can you look over our website? Can you make sure that we're gonna attract?
I have already looked at your website,
Okay.
and it looks good. I found your email needs to be fixed on the board page. There's no S on Myers, so I make a note. But yeah, you're fine there.
Okay,
And what I will check is when we get this, superintendent search link up, you know, one of our tech guys or whatever helps us out with this, I'll ask them to tell me, hey, it's up, and then I'll look at it, make sure that it looks right and people look at it. So yeah, and then that's where we'll put the link for the Google thing at the interviews. I mean, we'll have that spot will be where people will do our search work. So we'll be good to go.
and then obviously you're going to change the dates inside of this letter?
I will fix this
Okay.
all up. I'll get this out to you tomorrow morning, and the board members, I don't know if I'll copy you on it, but I'm gonna do these two. I will get all of your email addresses at some point. I don't have them all right now, but I could probably get them from the web, from the website, but generally, yeah, you'll see this, and then we will have a link, so when people apply, you know, they don't do this paper thing anymore, right? It's all uploading online, so there will be a link, and I'll put that link on your website eventually. Once I get this posted, I'll have a link, and then they click on that link, and it'll be Pennfield, and then there's a spot to click on to apply. So I'll actually tie that into your website too. So if people go to your website, they could apply by clicking on that link. But generally now, they can't, and if people ask you about it, you wanna refer them to the consultant, refer them to the website, that type of thing. You don't wanna be engaging. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So really, that's all I needed. So I know you got some other things to do. You need anything else from me? Any questions from me?
Would we need approval on the dates?
No, you don't need approval.
Okay.
We don't need approval on this stuff. We will, I'll tell you where we need approval, is when we get to those final candidates, you know, that's when we're gonna ask you to vote. Certainly at the end, I'll ask you to vote. And remember, there's two motions needed on this whole thing at the end. One would be to offer, and then one will be to approve the contract, right? The approving of the contract might be a couple weeks later, but the offering will be, you know, I'll be there with you. But when we narrow it, we might wanna take a motion at that moment, Jeff, to, like, hey, is everyone okay with these three? So does someone wanna make a motion? We could do that at that time.
Okay.
So, but you don't have to, cause you're doing it kind of by consensus, it's an open meeting, and we're narrowing, but when we get to the end, we do.
Just double checking.
We will post these dates too.
Wait
get
until
these.
I send them to you, but yes, and then I wanna talk to you about that extra Zoom date I wanna do for the community. I wanna get a time that'll work with you guys and me, so I'll
Okay.
work on that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman.
Thanks.
Hey, sorry I took so long, but we got some good discussion.
Necessary
Absolutely.
discussion.
We
Absolutely.
just had to get into it a little bit there, so. All right, people,
Drive safe,
See
lot
you
of deer out
All right,
there.
I'll see you and I'll be in contact with you too. Good night, thanks.
Thank you, thank you. All right, 5.02, quarantine discussion.
Yeah, I just want to bring it to the board's attention and, see, I don't know who else necessarily feels like this, but, I feel that our COVID quarantine is a little broken in our district. And I would like a better understanding of exactly, how it happens.
Okay.
Like if I call you and say, my child has COVID positive test.
You'd call Colleen, or the principal, actually. I'll get rid of this. You call the principal first and say, my child had positive. Then they start doing the,
Can I just ask like they,
oh,
just so we can all have an understanding of how it works?
okay, good. The principal investigates any contacts, so they start getting the contacts that that student had. And I can tell you, all of them, and especially Tony, he's been real busy. He'll actually measure, and he'll actually use the video to see how long that person's been there and measure, because, it's tough, for these kids, and it's tough for him, because he doesn't like having to tell a kid, sorry, you gotta go home because you were 15 minutes with this person. And the mask and vaccinations can reduce that time or can even eliminate that time. And I'm trying to get that out to the public about, how they can, kind of prevent being quarantined. And so we're doing a talking. It changed. When was the change, Kim? Last week at Colleen?
Couple weeks ago. It was a couple weeks ago, because I had her sending information.
Yeah. So they can't be tested until they went 6 days past their contact, because they're always going to get a negative until the 6th day. Then that's possible, positive. If we get a call in and a parent says, our child is positive for COVID, we automatically start that process, even though we don't know, that person could be doing a home test, but we've got to make everybody safe at that point.
See, some of the communication that I have gotten, Mr. Myers, is, for example, a parent said their child was exposed on Friday, okay? But there was no call. So they did their athletics Friday, Saturday, went to Grandma and Grandpa's on Sunday, went to school Monday, practiced Monday evening, Tuesday went to school. Tuesday evening, they called and said, your son was, or your child was exposed on Friday and they need quarantine. And so part of my feeling and the brokenness is that's not the only parent with that situation. They called me today, my child was exposed on Monday, and so I don't, I have I don't know how we can say, Susie, this child was COVID positive, the parent called the school on Friday, and the close contacts were
But the
made
parent probably
aware.
didn't call the school on Friday. A lot of times they're making the call later. They call in Tuesday, oh yeah, my kid tested positive for COVID. They were there on Friday.
But
then
I've,
it goes back. It's not the school that's delayed, it's the report of the test of the positive student that's delayed.
I've also been told that the health department does the quarantining.
They tell us that they have to be quarantined.
And after your student is quarantined, when the school calls you, the health department will call you too and follow up, and they'll give you the directions.
Should, anyway.
Yeah, I don't think all of that's happening
No.
from
And
what
my-
I'm hearing.
I would say that my biggest complaint, the way we're working on things right now, is the violation, that we're violating some of our students' rights right now. We are announcing their names over the loudspeaker, calling them down, everyone knows, like, oh, these 30 kids got quarantined, and yeah, we're not saying, these 30 kids come down because you guys are being quarantined, but when we announce 30 kids at a time over the loudspeaker, everyone knows that those kids are being quarantined and what they're being put, and that's happened 3 days this week. And I think we need to, that system, we need to change that. We cannot be announcing kids' names over the loudspeaker. I don't care who goes to the classrooms and get these kids out and how many extra steps that person needs to take. We cannot be announcing these kids' names over the loudspeakers.
That will change.
Part of my concern is also the mental health of our staff that has all of this extra quarantine investigation going on top of their job. And this really isn't, so I don't know if maybe the board needs to consider hiring a couple of more staff that could maybe just focus on the quarantine investigation part of it. But, my heart goes out to our administration, staff, and teachers that are having to do all of this on top, and we all know COVID's not going away. Mask and, vaccines, whatever, it's gonna be here. So, and then another really big concern of mine is the quarantine for the students that are getting very limited education during that time,
Right.
And what we're going to do as a district to fix that brokenness, We have to have something, and, I brought this up a few times. We can do better for those students.
Well, we want to do better. It doesn't matter how well we're doing, we just have to do better all the time. We do have the webcams, they're doing some training with the webcams, it's right at the beginning. There's some real concerns the teachers have, and I understand that, but we live in a world that, the kid can pull out their phone and tape a teacher, and take video of a teacher doing something that doesn't look really good and put that on social media. And they're kind of concerned about that with the webcam. That's been brought up. High school seems to be ready, though. At least the union people we talked to, ready to take that on, because it's not much different than what they were doing. But we're required to do distance learning to count those students. And it's just, it's not easy. Quarantine, we hate having, send those kids home, because this is a better place for them, most of them.
100%. The only thing else I would add to it, and I said this to you when I first got here, I would like to see an updated dashboard, and not to be like, oh, I love the way that other schools are doing it, but I really love the way that Lakeview's doing their dashboard. I love that you can see week by week, I think it's more real-time data. You can say, ours says there was 146 students in quarantine, but that's from the beginning of the school year to date.
24.
So, theirs is broken down week by week, building by building, and I think that real-time data gives us a better idea of what's happening in our school. I think it helps parents have a better understanding of what's happening, because they can say, oh, this is why, because there's 146, or there's 146, I mean, if you spread that over the last 5 weeks, I mean, how many is that per week? And if they know, there's, you know, real-time data on how many kids are actually, and I'm not asking Colleen to update it every Monday or whatever, just pick a day and update it once a week, if that's Friday, if that's Monday, whatever day, I'm not even telling you a day, I'm just saying, just once a week, just update it, and that's the day we do it. Just so we know, like, so it's a little bit more real-time and the numbers feel a little bit more real. I think as a community, they're longing for that information, especially with, there seemed to be a flux this last 7 days.
Yeah, we haven't seen the big numbers yet, but it's not that we don't expect them to happen, because, you know, you get 5 and that test positive, and then all of a sudden, they see 5 people, and all of a sudden you're at 25 each, really quick, and that's what we would be
Although
looking for.
we're still at how many for the whole year so far? COVID positive staff and students?
I sent that out, was it 21?
It was
Am I
21
right,
was- yes,
Colleen,
yesterday.
21?
Yeah, that didn't count
Today's.
today's number.
So, last school year too, we were getting a little bit more notification when we were getting a positive, staff member or student. As a board, we were getting notified, have a positive student in this building. We're not getting that this year, this school year. We were getting that all last school year. We were getting a text notification every time we had a positive student. So I personally would, I don't know about the rest of you.
Text you every time somebody
Yes.
tests positive?
Yes, we would get a text every time somebody tested positive.
Okay.
So we actually have when we approve the, board goals for the superintendent, early August, I do believe, that was one of the things that was on there. So it is an approved
Okay.
board item.
Okay.
So Don, did we ever find out how many people are vaccinated, students and teachers?
Estimated 35%,
Oh my God.
so. But that could have changed at this point too.
I do want to credit high tech and the teachers and the administrators, because when we consider that we are not in mask, our numbers are, I mean, we're not in an outbreak, our numbers are very controlled considering all things. So I want to thank all of them for their efforts.
It's not gonna matter a great deal when we have a kid die. They just had the kid die here at one of the schools in the west side of the state from COVID. Just a matter of time statistically. have
We
to
just
really
had an
be conscious
alumni
of
die in
that.
a car accident too, Craig, so I'm
No,
just
no, no,
saying,
not the
we
same.
have students driving every day.
We could be in COVID discussion all night.
It is my right to comment.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Please.
I have
Well,
no
I'm trying
problem
to
with
keep
your
the-
comment.
Peace here between,
I would like to be able to finish what I was saying.
absolutely.
This is something that is manageable, and we have to make sure the public is aware that by us continuing to go with the idea of having not regular masking, that we're increasing the likelihood of somebody becoming very seriously ill. This is the point, and if we're not vaccinating, the public should know that too. That's 1 in 3, 2 in 3 kids that are not vaccinated, that could be vaccinated.
Colleen, I don't know if it was you or it was you, Mr. Myers, were just saying something about if kids are like, and maybe I heard this wrong or my brain was hoping that you were saying this. Is there something in place if a child does wear a mask and they come in contact? Is there any type of differential? Like, for example, if my child is under quarantine right now. And so if he would have had a mask on at the lunch table or in the band room or whatever, would his chances of being under quarantine been different?
Yeah, that's my understanding.
If he had a mask on?
Yeah.
So if he wears a mask to school,
If he wears I don't know if you guys can hear me, if he wears a mask to school and he is vaccinated.
But, so he has to be vaccinated, he has to be vaccinated as well.
And vaccinated, then he would only have to, well, vaccinated, he wouldn't have to quarantine at all.
Okay,
But if both people, the infected, the person who tested positive,
okay,
and the people who are being quarantined around them, if both of them are masked, it's only 3 feet.
okay,
But since we do not require masks, we have to do 6
6
feet.
okay.
So that, I mean, that can like break, I mean, that's a lot of people
Okay,
when you're thinking about it.
that's what I was
So,
trying to, I
yeah.
thought I heard you say
Yeah.
something, and I just wanted to,
Mhm.
you know, to understand that. I mean, obviously, you can't,
None of this is manageable, we all realize
Yeah.
that, right?
yeah,
I mean,
100%.
there's no science behind any of these little, whether you have a mask or if you were vaccinated, or if you're 3 or 6 feet because you had one or the other. If you're
Yeah.
vaccinated, then why you wear a mask, I don't know. But
Because you
I
can
was
be
at
an
a game
asymptomatic.
game last night, and because we have this TikTok thing, there was no soap in the
Yeah.
men's room.
Yeah.
At all. There's been one of the hand washing stations that's been broken for years. So there's 1 out of 2 that work and no soap. And yet, we're talking about all this. It's silly.
Mhm.
And
Maybe I'm wrong, but in the men's room, doesn't the soap come out? Like, I mean, I thought we bought the machines that the soap could come right out at the
The
same
ones
time as
on
the
the,
water.
yeah, those have been working for years. They have ones on the wall that got
Yeah,
tore down.
I know those got torn down with the TikTok thing. I said no if they worked in the men's room. The soap came out at the same time, because I know they stopped working in the females' room as well, so I just know if they did in the.
So, I mean, everybody's working so hard to keep things going, and it's stressful, and I give everybody a lot of credit. I mean, we're trying to add more on, you know, to what she's doing, and, you know, I give the administration all the credit in the world for trying to do their best with all this, because if you really sit and listen, wow. Anybody with common sense, which we get a lot of people emailing us, you know, they don't get it either. You know, it's sad that we're dealing with COVID, and it's real, it's dangerous, it's whatever it is, but it's still, I don't know how you manage it any better than what we're doing, I guess.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to clarify kind of where we started. So our quarantine process is it's not our process, it's regulated by Calhoun County.
Right. It's
Okay.
given to us.
Okay, and it's a mandate, it's not a recommendation.
I
Or is
don't
it?
know.
What do you say, Mandy?
It's,
It's a
What do you
guideline.
mean, the quarantine?
Yeah.
Quarantine is a
Man.
mandate.
Coordinate,
It is a mandate.
quarantine
Okay.
is a mandate. If you don't follow, you could,
Lose your funding.
Are we allowing students to come back with
No.
the at-home PCR test?
That was my next question, thank you.
Can, Don?
yeah, I think we have to see it, the PCR, but yes, I think I remember reading in there, that, you know, that is a test that we have to, they can use.
So I can go to Rite Aid and buy a test.
If you can find them, they're hard to find right now.
Am I correct on
Go
that?
to Amazon.
Colleen?
I ordered 12.
No, yes and no. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Can you guys hear me from over here?
Yes.
Okay, so as long as.
hold on, because I
Here, take her this.
viewers can't hear you.
Do you want me to stand up?
just grab this one.
I can go over there. Okay.
Everyone's gonna ask, what did Colin say?
Thank you. Okay, so you can test out on day 6 and come back on day 7. That test you take can be any type of test, as long as you show us there has to be results.
Yeah.
You just can't say, hello, my son took a test and it came back. Yep, no, we gotta see those results.
Okay,
So an at-home test, I don't know if they have results with them or not. I don't know how you could show us that you have those results. But as long as you could show us a piece of paper with a date on it, and as long as that date is that 6th day, then yes, they can come back on day 7.
okay.
Yes, and, you know, we have there's a lot of timeline differences, like what Dawn was talking about earlier. parents, I mean, the last time, you know, a kid can be in would be Friday, and they won't tell us until, like, you know, yesterday, oh, my child tested positive. Well, you know, you have to go by when symptoms start, not by when the last time they were in school, so it's 48 hours before that. So 48 hours would have been Friday, and that's where people are getting quarantined. So, and that is, we do not wait until the health department confirms it, because we can't. We would rather send the children home, even though, you know, we'd, like Don said, we don't wanna send anybody home, but we have to protect others. So they go home, and then if it comes out that that person actually did not test positive, then we will call up families and say, okay, your child can come back now.
The thing I would like to touch on, I was, I don't know about fortunate, but I was in the high school office actually this afternoon, pick up my child for a doctor's appointment. I understand parents being upset. I would really like to reiterate and show a little grace towards Pennfield staff, and touch on the subject again, or touch on the comment again. We follow the health department's guidelines. It's not our call, it's not Pennfield's call to quarantine. By all means, we've had parents reach out and copy board members of, can you please relook at this? Are you sure he or she was in close contact, et cetera. I do understand some delays. We've had several just in the last couple days, as I'm sure the community has heard. To do all that research, just for one positive case, or just for one student, to do the research and the close contact just for that one, now multiply that by 6 just this week, 10. It's 10 positive cases just this week. So to understand having to go all the way back to Friday, now we're asking Pennfield personnel to research what happened last Friday and who the person was around, and plus we have another one and another one and another one. And there was actually a phone call while I was in the office of another positive case. So the timeline what's the word I'm thinking of? Irregularity. You know, I can see that from time to time. Normally, we're on it. I say we as you know, Pennfield staff. Normally, we're on it. Some things are individual that I've seen some emails, and Mr. Pessel at the health department has stepped right in, supplied some emails, some information to parents that have reached out. You know, as a parent that's had a student on quarantine, you know, before, it's no fun, absolutely not. But we're here for the health and safety, and to keep it as private as possible, we have had students that have gone into quarantine, have been upset that they've been in quarantine, which is totally understood, and then that student end up testing positive. So the quarantine process is there for a reason.
Yeah.
Is my bottom line. It's no fun. We want to see the kids at their sporting events. We want to see the kids at homecoming. Thank you for rescheduling homecoming. We bought dresses. We bought, you know, it's no fun. It's not a fun time. You know, you can't please everyone. You can't satisfy everyone. You know, we as in Pennfield, and not just this board, but, you know, we're trying to do the best we can, working with the health department. Colleen's pulling out her hair every time I'm in the office. We try to do it as fast as possible, get the kids that, you know, were reported in close contact, get them out of the building as soon as possible, or at least out of class as soon as possible. You know, everyone's working their darndest while answering phones in the high school office, and you know, I forgot something in my car and all this all at the same time. So I wanna thank everyone at Pennfield. This last couple of days has not been very fun with the whole quarantine subject.
So, I'm not sure where we're at with our ESSER funds, if they've all been used, but couldn't that money be used to hire a couple of staff members for quarantine investigation, you know?
Like, help
That is-
relief?
Oh, absolutely. That's
That's a great idea.
That's a very good question. That would probably be a Angina, and I'm just relaying on to Don.
Yep.
We have some left over that we had to use for, staff. I know we left a good chunk for, summer education,
Right.
so I don't know. I
how
don't know what's
much is
left of,
there.
I don't know what's left of that, so that would definitely be an Angina question.
And where would that fall with like FERPA, like what kind of employee could have personal information of a student to do that kind of investigation?
They'd have to go under contract.
They can go, that's not a problem.
Okay.
It's like everyone here has a contract of some sort.
So, you know, my goal then is to get that information. I started getting it to you as realizing this week we're all of a sudden having, you know, outbreaks, especially in the high school. So that's why you've gotten emails from me, text. I just haven't done text.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a text, I mean, if you know, like, I mean, if you're not a texter, you're not a texter, I mean.
Well, I am, but not, I don't know how it works with the phones that we got. We're gonna get new phones here really quick. So, that can be done. I'll check on the ESSER funds and email you, let you know. Just keep you, you know, up to speed on it.
And is that something that would help out, having somebody do that? Or
It
having more
would,
staff to-
contacting the parents, we want the nurses to be able to do that. I know we probably couldn't add another nurse, but, you know, we could use it.
But that's the thing, it's like, I wasn't contacted by the school, it's a robocall, so like, imagine if my housekeeper would've picked up the phone, they would've got the information that my child was under quarantine. It's not even a personal call, it's a robocall, like.
I've
your
heard that.
Student is
I just,
quarantined, so like, that's another thing that it's like not the personal touch.
right,
So it's just like, and I'm not trying to be picky,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying like, I just wanna make sure that we're protecting our children.
right.
You know,
I agree.
that's what I wanna make sure that we're doing, I don't wanna make sure that no child is violated.
You know, I don't have any problems with robocalls, but then they need a follow-up with making sure that person's getting the information. At least, you know, cause some, you know, we don't know, you know, when people are home, when they're sleeping, cause, you know, some are late night, have jobs late night, third shift.
Right.
So, I'm not gonna tell them stop the robocalls, but I'm gonna tell them, let's make sure that there's a follow-up.
Since we're on the topic of quarantine, this is like one of the reasons, like, that when I say the dashboard, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse on this, but like, my concern, and I know that, you know, Jeff said, you know, thanks for moving the dance, my concern is that this week, and I'm just gonna like, I don't even know how many, let's say we have 50, and I'm just making up a number off my head, kids are quarantined, who's to say it's not a different 50 kids 3 weeks from now that are quarantined, and then now we're at 50-degree weather, so are we moving this dance inside? And I just don't know, I mean, like, because it's, I mean, like, when you go that far out, it's 50 degrees, it could be 30, like, that late into October, and like, and then on the day we chose, and I know, like, again, I'm being picky, and I'm not trying to micromanage, but like, we have nothing this Saturday, and that day, there's 6 sporting teams who have an event that day, so it's about the students, and like, all of these kids are gonna be in tournaments all day long, and have all this stuff going all day long, and then.
So again, I'm trying to please everyone, I mean, where do you?
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm
what I'm
not
saying.
discrediting what you're
Yeah.
saying, I'm just saying, where do you,
But my question is are we gonna, in 3 weeks from now, are we gonna have another 30 or 50 or 60 kids, and we're gonna say, oh, we're gonna push it back again, or are we gonna move this inside because it's 30 degrees outside? Like, are we thinking about this before are we making these decisions? Like, or are we, like,
My concern with that is, so Friday night's homecoming, we got the big football game. All the people come, right? Now, the parent does have the choice to either vaccinate their child, have them wear a mask, or not, or all, you know? So, at the football game, we have a student section. Those kids are closer together than Jeff and I right now. So,
about 6 kids between you where you and Jeff are?
I don't understand, like, and that's where I'm saying, like, the system's broken, because if we're not gonna have a dance, then we shouldn't have stands, fans in the stands. You know, it could go on forever, and that's where the parenting decisions also need to take place. You know, whether or not, okay, you can go to homecoming, but you're gonna get vaccinated and wear a mask.
That's kind of what I was getting at, is I didn't mean to offend anyone by saying what I said, but, you know, I think we're working really hard on the end game here at the school, to staff, everyone here, but in the end, it does come down to the parents, you know, whether they're keeping their kids out of dangerous or unhealthy situations by, you know, maybe some of these kids have already had COVID and they've been all over the place. And they don't say anything because generally kids don't get very sick. And I'm sure that's happened a lot.
And that's where I
More
wanna
than, more than what
say,
we, more than
working
what
in
we
a
know, yeah.
Working in a school right now, I'm seeing so much of the dismissing, the snotty nose and the cough. Oh, it's just seasonal allergies, it's this, it's that. It manifests differently in children, and we can't dismiss that stuff. If your kid is showing symptoms, you have to keep them home, because it prevents a lot of this.
The fever monitoring, I think, is a key component as well. And I know there's some really good thermometers out there, but they're probably not cheap either.
But young kids a lot of times don't have the fever, and they don't have the loss of smell and the loss of taste. It just looks like a snotty nose, and we've gotta take that seriously too.
Well, I do appreciate this discussion tonight.
Yeah, me too.
Anything further?
I think it was a good discussion.
Yeah. Superintendent comments.
Nice job tonight. We really, focused in on going for that next superintendent. I'm very protective of this group and the community. I think they need the best person possible. If they can start early, that's fine. I'll step back, and that's not a big deal. Or if you have to go longer, that's fine too. I'll step up, and I'll always work for this board and for the public in our community here.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Board comment? Nobody?
I told enough tonight.
I'll just say thank you to the bond committee who sent these out. I got my copy in the mail today, and we got copies here. This looks good, and hopefully the community sees this and wants to support it.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I seen somewhere someone just asking for this same thing. I think it was an email. Was it not? Okay. So, yes, really good. Itemizes exactly where the money's going, all broke down, exactly what the community asked for.
And if there's questions that are not answered in that, our bond committee is very open to receiving any questions that they might have, so.
Absolutely.
And I've got a couple meetings to go to and speak to the Lions Club on the 20th, and on the 14th, there's a morning pour at Coney Island, what is it, Coney Island?
Cafe.
Oh, that's good food.
So we'll be doing some things there, so. And, you know, we hit the football, people pretty well, so they've gotten these, so.
Thank you.
Anyway, it's going forward.
Thank you.
Sorry, I stepped into the forward stuff.
You're fine. Anything else? All right, I appreciate it. Friday homecoming. Like to, see our support out there. We're playing Hastings. Other than that, obviously mentioned earlier that the dance has been rescheduled and there's a ton of details to work out between now and then, obvious, but, and at least a valued attempt, and I think everyone involved, a valued attempt to accommodate as many students as possible.
Right.
So, I appreciate it, and at this time, I'd like to adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.